Irishmen who immigrated to the United States, and they were long time ago. They had never seen a train before, and their little accommodations were outside the train tracks. And one of them was awoken in the middle of the night by one of the trains going by. He ran to the window and looked out the window, and he saw the train going by, and he saw the firebox was open, and there were sparks flying everywhere, all over the place. And then another one came by, and another one. So he went and woke his friend up, and he said, "You've got to come here and see this. They're moving hell, and they've taken 3 loads already." I listened to 3 different homilies this morning on this subject, the subjects of today's reading. Yeah, I didn't like any of them. Actually, there was one. You will remember 2 things, or I don't know if you remember or not, but number 1, the woman who came to Jesus had been suffering for 12 years. And the little girl was 12 years old. This is no accident. This is an intentional sign, if you will. But what I liked most about it is we hear a couple of different subjects going on here. One, of course, is about faith, and about how true faith can accomplish great things by just believing. True faith accomplished 2 things here today. It accomplished the resurrection, if you will, of 2 people. One who was suffering from medical problems, and she'd paid a lot of doctors all her money over the years, and they couldn't cure her. All she thought in her mind was, if I can get close enough to touch him, I will be healed. That's faith. She didn't even think she needed to talk to Jesus. All she needed to do was get close. And then you have Jairus. Jairus' daughter is ill. She is not dead yet, but she's very close. Well, of course, by the time he arrived, she was gone. Jesus ignored everybody who came to him and said, "Don't bother the teacher anymore. She's already dead." So Jesus goes. He takes her by the hand and he says, "Arise." That's the subject of today. Arise. We are called to stand up, to arise and go to Christ. He's not chasing us down, but he is calling us to get up and go, to bring our faith with us. We saw some of this last week as we opened our pantry. We saw wonderful people who helped to feed 26 families, who helped to feed 85 people. That is how we exercise our faith. That is how we arise. That is how we get up. When Jesus takes our hand and says, "Stand up, arise." And then he says to them, "Feed her, give her something to eat." What we got to eat was our ability to serve these people. That's what today's message is about from beginning to end. It's about faith first, and then it's about the action that faith brings forth. We must arise. We must stand up. We must walk. You notice that it does not say that we should give away all our goods so that we are now poor. In fact, it says those who have much will not have more, but those who have little will not have less. So it's almost as though we're supposed to spread our stuff around. We are. There are excesses. We didn't see much of it this past week. We saw a lot of people in need, and we only served a very small part of their need. But we served something else. We served their spiritual need. I can't say enough about the people who worked the pantry. It was a circus. It was an absolute circus. We had our young people. Poor Ray here was running the 40-yard dash out to cars with boxes of food, and Gabby was trying to herd the cats and keep things under control, not to mention the adults that were working in the pantry and trying to help as much as they could. We have arisen. We showed that on Sunday. We will have opportunities to show it again, I'm afraid. And I only say I'm afraid because there's such a need, such a tremendous need. Jesus is calling us to arise, to stand up, to be who we were called to be. He's calling us to have the faith of the woman who's been sick for 12 years. He's calling us to have the faith of the father of this child, that Jesus could do something for his child. He didn't go to get a doctor. He went to get the Lord. He went to get the Messiah. He went to get the man he knew could do something. And he ignored the calls that it was already over. We have to pray. We have to act. We have to be who we are called to be. That's what Jesus says. He says, arise, stand up. You will notice two things also occurred on the negative side here. The one, the apostles telling Jesus, are you kidding me? How do we know who touched you? There's hundreds of people pushing against you. How do we know? Are you kidding me? And then we have the other group of people who said, don't bother the teacher. It's over. It's done. Here's what they forgot. All things are possible with God. Nothing is impossible. Jesus tells us himself. I kept thinking I should have paid greater attention to how to create 5 loaves and 2 fish when the pantry started to get low. Created it by faith. Jesus' faith in his Father. He prays and he says, feed these people. So we did that. And we will do it again. There are ways every day that we can reach out and touch people's lives. By a kind word, by the feeding. We have a post on the website that asks you, and we're going to ask you today, to take some of the water that we have and keep it in your cars. As you see these people who are standing on the street corners and stuff, give it to them. It's hot out there. And if that's the little bit that we can give them at that particular point in time, that's what we want to do. I saw miracles occur. I saw faith in action. That's the type of thing that Jesus is calling for. Well, man, they were all astounded once the little girl got up and he says, feed her. He just fed them. They didn't even know it. But he fed them the power of the living God. And he will feed us if we're open to it. Are we willing to arise, or are we going to sit still in the chair, on the floor, in the bed, and expect something miraculous without reaching out for it? I've said time and time again, you can't receive a gift unless your hands are open. So when the Lord reaches out, we take it. When he says arise, we stand up. And we go, and we do what he's called us to do. St. Paul says we can be rich in all these things, but it doesn't really much matter unless we live our faith. The Book of Wisdom says God didn't create death. He created life. And He wants us to live. He wants us to live. Really live. Not walk around live. Be in the Spirit. We can do that if we arise. In the name of the Lord Jesus, I bid you peace.
Amen.